apparently trying to film wrap-ups is impossible for me, so this is my February wrap-up, take 2. Hi guys, this is Leanne and I'm here to talk about my February wrap-up. This month I read 8 books in total, which was pretty good for me considering I read 4 in January, possibly 3 in January because I think I stopped halfway through one. My memory's terrible. You're going to find this out when I'm talking about books because it goes in and then it goes out again. Anyway, so I'm just going to get started. The first 3 books I want to talk about are Ever After, The Undead Pool, and The Witch with No Name. Now these are all by Kim Harrison. They're all in the Hollows series, which is a 13-book series about a witch who decides to start up her own runner business, and she takes a living vampire with her and a pixie, and lots of things happen basically. I won't go into detail because that's for another video. I love this series. I love this series with an absolute passion. The characters are amazing. You get so emotionally involved with the characters. Every single book I have cried. And I'm not a particularly weepy person, but yeah, I just had to cry because it was so emotional and just perfect and tragic and bitter and just angsty as hell. Bearing that in mind, the last couple of books sort of tapered off for me. I mean, Ever After, I gave this a 4.75 out of 5 stars, and I liked it, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have rated it so high, but it was just, it didn't have the impact that the rest of the books did, and some of it just felt like filler, and I can't remember if it's in this book, but there's 2 deaths. I don't think it's in this book, but there are 2 deaths. And they're really significant characters, and their deaths are just glossed over. And after that, one character's sort of mentioned, but it's only in relation to another character. And they were really important characters. And so it just felt like the author was rushing, and there was no thought anymore. She just wanted to get to the end. Saying that, I gave The Undead Pool 5 out of 5 stars, because I feel like, I don't know, I can't quite remember why I like this book. This is why I'm going to be changing my wrap-ups in the future, because my memory is absolutely terrible. I can remember scenes in certain books, I can't remember quotes, I can't remember the happenings in entire books, but yeah, I'm just terrible. But I think this one sort of picked up and got back to where it should be, and then it kind of went downhill with The Witch with No Name, which I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. The ending to this, I wanted more from this. This series is bitter and dark and full of angst and so much pain, and the ending that we got was sweet. I was just so super sweet and sickly, and it wasn't what I wanted. I mean, it was just like that, well, rush through it, and here's your happy ending, there you go. You know, we've got to the end, and it just wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. I expected more from Kim Harrison. I wanted more, and to be honest, it was a disappointing ending to one of my favourite series. I mean, I'll still reread it, I'll still enjoy it, but I'm not going to enjoy the latter books as much as the previous books, so there you go. The next book that I read was Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. I've been wanting to read this for a while. It's a memoir about her time in Iran, her childhood and her subsequent adulthood, and basically it's just a commentary on her life and religion and politics, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's a graphic novel, and the art style was just fantastic. I've seen some strips on Tumblr, and one of the strips was one of my favourite, and I was so excited to get to it because it's there are 2 policemen, and Marjane, she's walking around, and they say to her, what do they say? Oh, they say your bottom is wiggling obscenely, and she just screams out, "Then don't stare at my ass," and these two men are so shocked that they just walk away. And she was so terrified that they were going to attack her because, you know, she'd been outspoken against them, and I just thought the sense of humour there, but the sense of terror as well, it was just a nice blend. It sounds silly me saying it's a nice blend, but I appreciate the humour in the books for such a serious subject. I didn't get a lot of the political stuff. I'm not very politically minded, but I did appreciate her feelings and thoughts on it, and it was definitely an eye-opener. And the way she talks about her childhood and her adulthood growing up, not knowing quite where she belongs, I really, really gelled with that as well. So it was a good read, and, you know, it's very important. I think everybody should read it, but I don't think I'm going to read it again, and I have unhauled it. So I gave Persepolis 4 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read was Rat Queen's Volume 2, The Far-Reaching Tentacles of Energoth? Fantasy names. By Kurtis J. Wiebe, Rowell, Upchurch, and Stjepan Sejic. What can I say about Rat Queens? The first volume was a little bit slow. We're introducing the characters, you know, not much is happening, but this one, man, I mean, I just absolutely loved it. There was action, there was history, there was drama. I mean, they're still sort of setting up and exploring the characters, but for me, this was a 5-star read. I gave it 5 stars out of 5 stars, just because it was so good and so fun, and I love the art style. I'm sorry, I'm just flicking through it again. I love it. I mean, in my last video I said I wasn't too keen on the art style, but actually, no, that's a lie. I adore it. I just love the colours and everything about it. And I'm just gonna stop now because I'm just gonna start rambling. But Rat Queens is comics or graphic novels. I'm not quite sure what the difference is. Someone's gonna have to educate me on that. Comment below if you know. Is about a group of 4 women who are warriors, and they're basically bounty hunters, and they go around just doing stuff for money, and it's just fantastic, and I think everyone should read it. Just read it. I was in a bit of a graphic novel, manga, comic-y mood, so the next thing I picked up was Bleach volume... I don't know what volume this is, but it's volumes 37, 38 and 39. And this ending, it was such a cliffhanger that I almost wanted to scream, and I wanted to go out and rush and get the next volume, which I have now, but I'm pacing myself and waiting. But it was such a good cliffhanger. I just sat there thinking, you've left it at that? You've left it at that? So Bleach by Tite Kubo is a manga about a boy called Ichigo Kurosaki, and he's a soul reaper, which means he has to collect the souls of the dead and take them to the soul society and fight hollows, which are bad souls, and basically, you know, make them good again, I guess. And it's just, from where it's begun, it's such a different monster, but it's still so good. I mean, you sometimes read stuff and it starts off really great and then it goes downhill, or you watch something and it goes downhill, but this is not going downhill. I mean, at points it stays at the same level, but sometimes it just goes right up, and I'm so glad I got into this. I don't even know why I got into this, but I am so glad. And yeah, like I said, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars because that ending. The next on my list was Kindred Spirits by Rowell. This was the World Book Day book, or one of the World Book Day books. This is a short story about a girl called Elena, and she's an absolute just mad for its Star Wars fan. She got the love from her father, and they just share that love, and he used to talk about when he would, well, I think he participated, he'd go to the cinema and he'd line up weeks before just to get into the cinema. So Elena decides, well, the new one's coming out, I'm going to do that. I want to experience the fun and the friendship and everything. And it's not quite how she imagined it'd be. This story was really nice, really short and sweet. I didn't think that it needed a like a continuance, or it didn't need to be expanded, just because it was just a nice, quick, easy read, and it made me so happy. And because I'm a fan of Star Wars, it made me think about, you know, would I do that? And, you know, there are different levels of geekery. Like, obviously she loves it, she wanted to wait outside, but I mean, I love it, but I wouldn't do that. So it just made me think about all the different levels of geekery, and how in this book no one's, you know, put down for not having the same levels. So in the end I gave that 4 out of 5, but I did unhaul it and I did give it to Danielle, and there is a review, a 60-second review of that, so if you want to take a look at that, I will leave a link down below, and I'll probably leave one of those title card thingies. And the last book on my list is Ali Smith's The Accidental. This is my second Ali Smith book. It's sort of like a contemporary. I wasn't quite as impressed with this one as I was with the first book I read of hers, which was The Story of Antigone, which was a classic story that she'd adapted as a children's story. This, The Accidental, is about a family, a very dysfunctional family, that don't really know anything about each other, or they don't talk to each other. They go on a holiday, and a mysterious woman called Amber turns up in their life and just fills in the spaces and, you know, challenges them and tries to bring them all together. Not on purpose, but it's sort of what she's meant to be there for. As I said, I wasn't too keen on this book. You had the mother who she was off in her own world. She didn't really know what was going on. She was too focused on the past and writing about the past. And then you had the stepfather, and he was sleeping with his students, and he just didn't care about anybody else apart from himself. He was very egotistical. Then you had the son, Magnus. He was going through a lot in his life, and he wanted to commit suicide, and I think Magnus was one of my favourite characters, actually. Pardon me. And then you had Astrid, the young girl, who saw everything through the lens of a camera. She was so separated from everyone. And these characters were amazing. I had high hopes, and I thought Amber would come in and she would pull them together and make them learn about each other and just be a family. And I love family dynamics and seeing how different families work. But she didn't really. She came in and did some things, and nothing really happened. Nothing changed. The mum, after Amber left, the mum did a really crappy, horrible thing and just up sticks and left. And I mean, I'm all for women, you know, reclaiming their lives, especially mothers, because a lot of people think of mothers as mothers. That's it, you know. They're not people. So I love that, but the way she did it, the way she handled it, I just thought, you've got kids, you shouldn't be doing that. And there was a scene, there was quite a few scenes between Magnus and Amber, and they involved sex, and for me, there's a thing on the back, thing on the front, obviously, it says, delicious, funny, sexy, poignant, bewitching, from The Observer. And I thought, what's sexy about it? I haven't seen anything sexy. I mean, are you referring to the fact that Magnus and Amber are having sex? Because Magnus is going through this thing. She saves him from committing suicide, and then after that they get into this sexual relationship. And I think, you know, he's a young boy going through a lot of trauma, and this older woman comes in and, you know, starts having sex with him. It's like, that's not sexy to me. I find that really problematic, and I find that people saying it's sexy is problematic, because if it, like my boyfriend rightly pointed out, if it was the opposite, that wouldn't be considered sexy, that would be considered predatory. You know, just because it's an older woman coming onto a guy doesn't mean it's like, ooh, that's so hot. You know, if it was an older man coming onto a younger girl going through trauma, it'd be like, he's taking advantage of her. So, for me, things like that really dampened my enjoyment of it. The ending dampened my enjoyment of it, and I just felt incomplete. So I ended up giving Ali Smith's The Accidental 3 out of 5 stars. I want to read more Ali Smith, because I feel like this one is people are very up and down with their opinions, so I definitely want to try something else. But yeah, definitely not going to read this again, so I've unhauled it. Okay guys, that was my February wrap up. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully my March one will be up soon. I will catch up, I promise. It's just, yeah, for some reason, you know, my phone doesn't like me filming wrap ups. It just tends to make things, you know, screwed up, blurry, whatevers. But yeah, so if you like this video, like it, all that jazz. If you want to talk to me about any books I've mentioned, or if you want to, I don't know, suggest me any books, or if you just want to talk in general, obviously comment down below. And yeah, have a good one guys. Bye!